depression. Depression is often referred to in psychiatric circles as the common cold of mental illness. And that is like some people get colds, other people don't. Some people get colds every week, and some people get them once a year or once every 5 or 10 years. Depression is kind of like that, where you have almost everybody experiences it at some time. Some people never get it. Some people have had it once before and they never got it again. And some people are like on a constant basis, they're always feeling this depression.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. We're going to go ahead and get started here. All right. I think we're going live on Facebook. Let's see. All right. I see all of you hopping on. Welcome. You've made it another week. We're back. We're going to talk about some good stuff today. This is a really important webinar, and this comes up a lot in conversations with many of you, and we hear this all the time. And so we're going to be talking about type 2 and mental health. And so we brought in Dr. Saunders like we do every week, but he's in his office every day too. And people are coming into his office with type 2, looking for his help. And I asked him before we got started, I said, let's talk about this today. Let's talk about what some of the common mental health struggles are for people that come into your office, those with type 2. What do we do about it? What's the best way to handle this? And all of that. So we're going to go there today. We're going to talk about this stuff. We would love to hear from you. Maybe some things that you're struggling with, or things that you've noticed, or questions that you have. You can post those in the Q&A. You know what? I better enable that because for some reason it doesn't work all the time. Okay. Q&A is the best place for me to see those. So if you can post your questions there, that would be wonderful. Dr. Saunders, would you mind giving us a disclaimer before we really get started?
Okay. The disclaimer is, I disclaim all responsibility for whatever decisions you make for your health. And what that means is I'm giving, or we're giving, like information that applies generally to a lot of different people or a specific group of people. And if you're not one of those, then it may not apply to you. So the important thing when you take general information is ask the question, does this apply to me? And either you figure it out, or you may need professional help to say, yeah, that applies to you, or no, that does not apply to you.
Very good. Those of you who may be new, would you mind saying hello in the chat? We want to hear from you. We want to know if this is your first time on the webinar. Let us know if you've purchased the Diabetes Solution Kit. Just kind of like to see who's hopping on. We often get a lot of people here for the first time, which is so exciting. And we just want to welcome you. Maybe give you a little shout out, but let us know. And if you are interested in our other webinars, want more information about our products, etc., you can go to bartonwebinar.com. I will post that link in the chat. There's a lot of information there, good stuff, a link to our YouTube channel, etc. And I just realized I never even introduced myself. So my name is Leslie, and I'm here every week with the good doctor. Usually Joe Barton is with us, but he is traveling today. So he'll be back. You'll see the three of us usually. Sometimes we bring in some special guests, but we talk about type 2. Usually every other week we have a topic that we really focus on based on the feedback that you guys give us, the emails you send, what you're letting our customer support team know about, and the feedback from you on our webinars. The things that matter to you matter to us. We want to talk about those things. We want to help you on your journey. That's our goal. And we want you to have success in tackling your type 2 diabetes. So here we are today. We're going to go ahead and get started. Let's see. We have Elliot here. Angela, hello. Thank you. She says, thank you all. Ellen is here.
This is why we do the webinar. We have a book. But everything isn't in the book, and everything in the book doesn't apply to everyone. So we have an opportunity here where people can come on and ask a question and go, okay, this is not working for me, or this is working for me, or how can I make it better, or what am I doing wrong? And where else would you go to do that? If you read a book and you go, well, I tried everything in the book and it didn't work, where do you go? And that's why we have the webinar. We just you have a place to go to ask questions and say, what about my case? Why am I different than those guys that are having, that lost 50 pounds and their blood sugar's normal and their diabetes is gone? Why didn't it work for me?
Yeah, who are those guys? Are they real? You'll see them probably comment on here. They are real.
They're real, yeah.
They're real people. Yes, that's so good. And guys, this is also a free place, which sometimes I don't know how long we'll do this. I don't know how long this is going to be a free webinar where you can ask a doctor questions, because that's just crazy, right? But many of you on, and feel free to comment, have gone through the Diabetes Solution Kit. You've asked Dr. Saunders for some little tweaks or little ideas about certain things. And he's helped you, and other people are learning from the things that you've done, right? So that's the goal. This is the community that we really want to create. We're so blessed to have Dr. Saunders. What are we going to do if you ever decide to leave or something? You're not allowed to go on vacations either. You have to stay. Well,
are you kidding? I've done this webinar from being on vacation.
You're right. We all just thought it was like
I did it in Washington. I got off a plane one time and I did it on my phone as I was driving home from the airport. Yeah, I've done it.
You're right.
I've only missed, I think, 2 times.
Really? Wow. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I do remember a few backgrounds that were very tropical also.
That's right. We were in Hawaii once I did it. Yeah.
Yes. It wasn't his fake background. It was the real thing. That's right. That is the beauty of doing this online, that we can do it anywhere for the most part, as long as we're not, in the airplane. But soon that'll be an option, I suppose. Okay, let's see. Donald, first time purchase the basic program. Awesome. Juan says, how can I make it better? Yes, I'm real. My sugar levels are still high. Yes, I'm real. I love it. My sugar levels are still high. Thank you for whatever feedback. Awesome. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and do a little teaching today on mental health. And like I said, we do want your feedback about this. If this is something that, you have questions about or you're experiencing, we want to hear from you. And then we're also going to go through your questions at the end. So anything type 2 related, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to ask those questions. We will get to as many as possible. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm just going to open this up by asking Dr. Saunders. Like I said, you have a lot of people that come into your office who have type 2, or maybe are pre-diabetic, or, who knows what they're coming in for really. But what are some of the mental health struggles that you see with your patients?
Well, the thing about like depression is often referred to in psychiatric circles as the common cold of mental illness. And that is like, some people get colds, other people don't. Some people get colds every week, and some people get them once a year or once every 5 or 10 years. Depression is kind of like that, where you have almost everybody experiences it at some time. Some people never get it. Some people have had it once before and they never got it again. And some people are like on a constant basis, they're always feeling this depression. And anxiety is a similar kind of thing. Anybody feels anxiety. Anxiety just means you're unstable. So if you're feeling something unstable in your life, if something's not working, if there's something that you can't predict, that you don't know what's going to happen, then you sense this anxiety, and it's kind of a fear, because that outcome could be bad, right? Something bad could happen. I feel like there's a meteor going to fall on my head or something. I don't know what's going to happen, but something bad is going to happen. That sense of fear, that's the anxiety part. So these are common experiences. And if you ever want to feel anxiety, just stand up in front of a crowd of people and have them all looking at you while you're supposed to give them a talk or something. That's the biggest fear that human beings have is public speaking. Bigger than spiders. Spiders are like a little down on the list. And so, how does diabetes affect that? Well, it works both ways. Whenever you have an illness, a problem, you walk into a doctor's office, doctor says, "Oh my gosh, got your test results back, and this is not good." "What is it, doctor? Is it cancer? What is it? What is it?" Looks like you have diabetes. "Oh crap, I have diabetes." And then what happens to that? It changes your life. Your sense of self changes. Who you are, what you are. Before you walked into that doctor's office, you were a healthy human being. You walk into the doctor's office, all of a sudden you have a disease. And the doctor says it's forever. It's a lifetime problem. And you're going to here, take this pill, and you're going to have to take it for the rest of your life. And you're like, "I hate taking pills." Well, so that by itself, having a diagnosis can be depressing, because it can change the way you see yourself as, "I'm no longer healthy. I've lost," and you grieve over the loss of health. And the grieving process includes depression. So the diabetes can cause depression. There are other reasons diabetes can cause depression. When your blood sugar gets low, so your blood sugar is not stable, it goes up too high and down too low, and up too high and down too low. And when it's low, it's like, "I don't feel like doing anything. I can't go out." The signs of depression, the symptoms, the things that people do when they have depression are like, "I'm not interested in going out to eat." It's called anhedonia. They're not hedonistic. They don't find any pleasure in life. So it's like, "Yeah, I don't care about that. I don't care about that." And people who are depressed, often they're looking for some pleasure. So what do? They eat. And what do they eat? Well, they're not going to eat broccoli, for heaven's sakes. They're going to have potato chips and ice cream. Why? Because that makes me feel at least normal. So depression can be caused by a diagnosis of diabetes, but also depression can worsen the diabetes, because that's how, if we're talking about how do you reverse this process, well, we got to go on the diet, and you got to take care of yourself, so to speak. Well, when you're depressed, you don't feel like taking care of yourself. It's like, who cares, kind of thing. And that's the essence of depression, is you lose hope. It's a hopelessness of, life's not worth it, or it's not worth it, or my life isn't worth it, or there's just nothing of value to you that you get excited about and go, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about life. I have this to do and that to do, and I'm learning this, and I'm growing in this way, and I get to go to Disneyland next week, and whatever. There's something to look forward to. When you have depression, you don't have anything to look forward to. It's pretty hopeless and pretty bleak. And so, why is it again? I'm going to go on this ketogenic diet from Barton Publishing. Tell me again why. I mean, forget it. It's not even worth it. So, depression is a problem on both sides, but anxiety is too. So if your blood sugar drops really low, you can get really anxious. When you have diabetes, things aren't functioning very well, and you feel unstable. You go, "Well, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if my blood sugar is going to go up. I don't know if my blood sugar is going to go down. I monitor my blood sugar, but what if it goes down too low?" And so I'm really worried about going on this diet, from Barton Publishing. Is it reversing my diabetes when I might get low blood sugar, and the doctor told me that I have to be on this medication for life, and that if I don't take it, then my kidneys are going to fail, and I'm going to get an amputation. I'm going to get Alzheimer's disease. So the 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 motivation that comes from the doctor is often fear, and fear creates what? Anxiety. So so here you are with diabetes, and you have all this depression, anxiety, all these outside things going on that create another kind of a problem, and that is stress. And every time you add stress to diabetes, then you make it worse. So that stress of fear and the stress of anxiety and the stress of depression create more cortisol. That's your adrenal hormone. Cortisol causes you to be resistant to insulin. So in type 2, what's your problem? Insulin resistance. And now you're going to add cortisol in to make it more insulin resistant. So the mental health issues are a big problem for diabetes. And the two big ones, depression and anxiety, which often come together, by the way, it's not an either or situation. You can have depression and anxiety at the same time. But some people are only depressed, some people are only anxious, and some people have both. It's, that common cold kind of idea. Some people never get it. So then you add on the problem of stress, and now the stress creates more insulin resistance. So you're trying, and people come in sometimes and they say, "Oh my gosh, I'm trying so hard, and I've been doing my diet perfectly. My blood sugar just isn't going down. It's always 200 no matter what, and I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's going on." And then I talk to them for a little while and talk about the depression, the anxiety, the stress that they have, and try to help them to deal with that kind of a problem first. Because if you don't deal with that, then you still have insulin resistance, and you haven't fixed the problem. So a lot of you out there who have, excuse me, have been on the program and have been, you're micromanaging your diet and doing everything right, and you're not seeing results, consider those issues of stress, depression, anxiety, and stress, because they'll undermine everything that you're doing. And then you add hopelessness onto hopelessness, because now you have depression and like it's not even worthwhile. And then you try the diet, you go, see, it didn't even work. That kind of thing. Then the next question is how do you deal with that? And that is so individual. It depends on you, and it depends on your hormone status. Yeah, hormones have a big effect on your stress and anxiety and depression levels. It depends on your connection with God, your religious affiliation. It depends on your status of your family, how many connections you have with other people. It depends on things like post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, that some people, from childhood. In fact, I had a woman in this morning, and she was saying, and she's like, she does everything right, and she says, why isn't it working? So we talked about her type A personality, and she goes, yeah, I live in fear all the time. I'm motivated by fear. Everything. That's what I do. That's why I do everything, and I do everything right, because I live in fear, and I have plenty of energy. And so that's the type of person she is. So we talked about how do you lower that, and she's going to have to deal with some childhood traumas that she had, and we discussed all of that. And then consider other things that you might do on top of that. What if you don't have this, PTSD or something like that? Then you might consider other ways of dealing with it, and that is connecting with people, and meditation, connecting with yourself, and connecting with the infinite, connecting with God. So those are some of the best ways to deal with you. If you have a firm foundation, if you know who you are and where you belong, and you're in the right place doing the right thing, you're not going to get anxiety. You're not going to feel unstable. You're going to feel stable. And so having that prevents you from getting anxiety. And then if you know where you're going, then you won't get depression because you'll have hope. And if you have hope, you're not going to get depressed. Now, if you feel stable and you know where you're going, and you're still anxious or depressed, then you got to look at hormones and all those biochemical stuff, because there's a lot of biochemistry that can affect how you feel too. Yeah, I know it's a huge topic to talk about, but I wanted to give you some idea of hey, that's right, I got to deal with that, because you know what? My diet really isn't working that well. And I do have an anxiety problem or a stress or a depression problem. So if you understand that, then you can start working on it, because your problem or your way of dealing it is going to be very individual compared to anyone else.
I really appreciated this from the CDC on their website. And actually, I think I'll post this link, but they talk about the mind-body connection, which is exactly what you just said. Thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and attitudes can affect how healthy your body is. Untreated mental health issues can make diabetes worse, and problems with diabetes can make mental health issues worse. But fortunately, if one gets better, the other tends to get better too.
Yeah,
So
that's what's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of hope in that. And so I hope that you guys can hear that. And another interesting thing that's on the site that I had been reading earlier today, now I got to find it. People with diabetes are 2 to 3 times more likely to have depression than people without diabetes. And only 25% to 50% of people with diabetes who have depression get diagnosed and treated.
Both ways, yeah. Yeah, but you wonder what comes first. Does people with depression and they're hopeless and they don't take care of themselves, and they just like they're looking for like food to make them feel better, so they get diabetes, or is it the other way around? Or it's probably a combination of both, obviously.
So I'm curious also, there's a lot of information about the prescription drugs for diabetes, or excuse me, for mental health, for anxiety, depression. And I don't want to dismiss that, but why is that always the first thing that is seems to be given right away? Is that normal, I guess, in the traditional medical world? And how does that affect our diabetes?
Yeah, the way I look at that, okay. So if I go to an acupuncturist and I don't know, my hand hurts or whatever, and I go to an acupuncturist, I'm probably going to get needles poked into me, right? If I go to a chiropractor, it's very likely that I'm going to get my back adjusted. And if I go to a medical doctor, it's very likely that I'm going to get medicine. And so the idea that we have of the doctor knows all, and that, like, for example, I saw something like for some supplement on there, and they said, ask your doctor. And I was like, you know what? We didn't learn anything about the nutrients in medical school. The doctor's not going to know what to do with that. The doctor's not going to know the dose of it or what it is or what it does. And yet you still see, like on TV, on ads and various things, ask your doctor. So really, though, all the doctor is has a doctorate degree in patent drugs, right? So if you go to a medical doctor, you're going to get medicine in that, and you got to kind of expect that, and that's okay.
Okay. In dealing with stress and anxiety, one of the things that we didn't mention is exercise. Or getting active. How does that affect our depression and our anxiety?
Oh, thank you. That's huge. Being active, and that's part of the issue, that it makes it hard to be active when you don't have motivation, right? you're not motivated to be active. I had somebody in my office this morning, I swear, this really happened this morning.
We saw a lot of people this morning already.
Yeah, he said, and it was the first time I ever saw him, and he weighed over 300 pounds, and he said, but when I was in high school, I weighed 200 pounds, and I was a wrestler. Anyway, he was like a really good wrestler in the heavyweight division, right? And so he was exercising a lot. And then later on, he went to law school, and he exercised a lot. And he went to Hawaii. He would run all the way around, Diamond Head, the volcano. And, he ran, and he was 200 pounds. And then he started getting into his practice, and he's sitting all day long, right? And that's an issue, right? Because if you're not exercising, then your metabolism changes and everything changes. But there's other things involved with that. For mental health, when you exercise, you produce endorphins, and endorphins give you a sense of peace with the world, like a sense of it's okay. If you've ever heard of morphine, endorphins are endogenous morphine. That's where they got their name, endorphins. And what they do is they're like opiates. They decrease your pain. They decrease your emotional pain as well as physical pain. So exercising is so good for you as far as both stress and anxiety and depression.
One of the things I've heard you say before is when people will say, well, what kind of exercise should I be doing? And you typically say, whatever you can or will do that gets you moving. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So sometimes I think we have a tendency to overthink things as far as exercise. I know I do, where it's like, we got to have a plan. We got to do all of this stuff. And really it's just a matter of starting or doing something.
Yeah. Pick what you like to do. And if you like playing tennis, then that's the best exercise there is. If you like swimming, then that's the best exercise there is.
Yes.
The best one is the one you like.
Yes. And the one you do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So good information, guys. Feel free to ask your questions here. I think this is a really important topic to discuss. I realize that it can be a little bit sensitive if you don't want to have your name associated with a question, that's okay. Just type in keep anonymous or whatever you want to do. But the Q&A is a really good spot to ask your questions. I know many of you are here for the first time, so I'm going to quick show you this, the diabetes solution kit. This is what we were referencing. Guys, I'm in South Dakota and the weather is very fallish, and there's it was sleeting. I think it might have been hailing. I'm not sure outside. And now the sun's out. And so it's hitting me kind of funny, but it's lovely. It's just a lovely fall day. Here's the diabetes solution kit. It is not a huge, thick book. It's kind of like a workbook of sorts. It's a phenomenal book, guys. Dr. Saunders has helped to do this. I've been a part of this. There are recipes in this, and we do revise it. And so when we ask for your feedback, we really do want it, because we put your information in here, the things we learn. We see you guys as a part of our team as well. We are always adjusting and changing things based on how you respond.
We've had 10 revisions of that book so far in only a few years. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? We're always learning more. And with that being said, many of you have had success with this as it is. In fact, some of you have had very quick success, which is awesome. But there are 3 phases to this plan. It talks about how to eat. There's some stress management information, recipes, grocery lists, a lot of information in this. So if you want information on this, you can go to bartonwebinar.com or you can go to Barton Nutrition as well. If you use the code webinar25, you save 25% off of our products. But I will tell you, Dr. Saunders is not a product pusher. So he's going to tell you, hey guys, we're going to change this with food. We're going to tackle this food stress. We're going to deal with those things, which is always kind of a bummer, because I'm always like, just give me the pill. Let's make it go away. Right? No, he doesn't do that. So We're going to do the hard stuff that works with long lasting results. And so you're going to want to check that out. Okay. Let's go into some of these questions. I want to see if there's anything else here that I was going to mention. You know what? I'm going to just post this article. You guys can look at some of this, just some interesting stuff that I have found. I'd like to say that less and less people are getting type 2 diabetes, but that is not the case. And I think I've asked you this before, but what are the latest statistics for type 2 or even pre-diabetes?
So if you look at type 2 and pre, put it all together, about half the population of the United States is currently in that situation. But if you just look at type 2, it's a little less than a third of the population. But we're talking population, like everyone. So it's huge. It's really big. There's a lot.
And how does America specifically look compared to other countries?
And not
maybe not look.
Better.
Don't say look.
Yeah. Well, there are maps that you can get that show rates, and they show different colors. And America is not any better. The United States is not any better than Canada. Is actually mostly better than the United States. Other countries, Mexico is a little worse as far as the numbers go, number of in the population. Some countries are a lot worse. I think like Pacific Islanders, there was a very large number there. Yeah, I've looked at those maps, and Europe is a little better actually than the United States. So depends on where you are.
I just happen to be in America, and so does Dr. Saunders, but we have many of you all over that watch this webinar. And we're just thankful for you guys that you're all here. We can all do this, right? We can all do this. So, okay, questions. Let's go ahead and look. You know what? Someone asked, if I purchase the digital version, but I would like the hard copy, do I just process a new order? And actually, I would recommend just emailing support@bartonpublishing.com, because they'll help you with that. They'll know the best way to do it and make sure you get the best price and all of that. So again, support@bartonpublishing.com. You can tell them that I sent you. That I don't know if that'll make a difference, but maybe. Okay.
Sure.
Maybe. Let's see here. Let me go back up here. Lots of first timers. This is awesome. Okay, so let's just do a quick little chat about this, because Juan had asked this earlier. My sugar levels are still high. What do I need to bring them down? So maybe a quick overview of the diabetes solution kit.
Okay. Phase 1 of the diabetes solution kit is a ketogenic diet. We chose this because it's something that is fairly easy to do, and it provides good results for most people. It's not for everyone, but for most people, it works pretty well. So when you put in the book, you say, how am I going to reach the greatest number of people? Well, phase 1, you take out all the carbohydrates that are in your diet, except for you allow 20 milligrams of, 20 grams, 20 grams of carbohydrates. And that's not a lot. That's like one apple, and you're done, a big apple, and you're done for the day kind of thing. So it's a very small amount. And the reason for that is because that's not enough carbohydrates to run your body for a whole day. So it's going to force you to start burning fat for energy. And if you're eating that little carbohydrate, then your insulin level is going to drop down. So if you have type 2 with high insulin, then you're going to gradually drop down your insulin level, and you're going to be less and less insulin resistant. So the process of phase 1 is a detox. So if you're saying, gosh, my blood sugar is still high, okay, blood sugar is one measurement, and that's a good idea of what's going on. But it's only part of the picture. You have to look at it more long-term and say, if your blood sugar is too high, are you eating too many carbohydrates? In other words, are you going over your 20? And if you're getting up to 20, then consider going to 10 and having fewer carbohydrates, or having more of the free foods. The free foods are vegetables that don't have any or significant amount of carbohydrate, like broccoli and celery, and cilantro, lettuce and cabbage. Someone came over to my house, and they've been to my house twice, and I cooked both times, and I had one of them I had a salad with cilantro, another one I had guacamole with cilantro. And they go, "You like cilantro, don't you?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I do. I use it all the time. I got it growing in my garden." Anyway, so if your blood sugar is still high, consider other things too, like, do you have a lot of stress? Sometimes blood sugar is going up because you're under stress. That releases stress hormones that actually cause your liver to make more sugar. So even though you're not eating it, you're making it and you're raising it up, because the stress hormones make you resistant to insulin too. So then your blood sugar's going crazy because of stress. So there's a lot of factors that could be involved in there. So the idea of phase one is your blood sugar, your morning fasting blood sugar, should be going down over time. If it's not, look for other possibilities. What's in your diet? Do you have stress and anxiety or something like that that might be undermining your efforts?
Very interesting. So, how would you rate stress versus food that impacts type 2?
Oh, well, both of them, they're roughly equal. I've told you the story about that woman that had stress diabetes. She was overweight. She drank sodas every day, and she wasn't going to give up any of her food, her high carbohydrate diet or anything. But when her stress went away, her daughter moved out of the house. The daughter and she were fighting all the time. When the daughter moved out, her diabetes was gone. She didn't have diabetes. She hadn't changed her diet. She hadn't exercised. No changes except for that. Wow. Once the stress went away, her diabetes went away. So stress is huge and food is huge. So I can't say which is better or worse.
And do you think that some people are so stressed or have been stressed for so long that they don't even know that they're stressed?
Yeah, there's a lot of that, because we have something that there's a lot of research I've been reading about called PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And it is a disorder and it is real. And a lot of people are walking around with PTSD and don't know that they have it. So they're producing, like the woman that I saw this morning that I was telling you about. She was not aware of her stress. She's like, my life is ordered. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing. I got everything in line. But we measured her cortisol levels and they were high. So I'm like, dude, I'm like, you have stress. And she goes, what do you mean I have stress? And that's what she had. And so dealing with that is important.
And I think sometimes the things that cause extreme stress in our lives, we may dismiss because we think it's not that big of a deal. It's not, something that you read about in books, but we can still have a lot of stress over the everyday things in life. So always good to look at it.
Sometimes our adrenal glands disagree with our brain. The brain says no big deal. The adrenal glands say, that's a big deal.
Well, and I was even having a conversation recently with someone about the way that we respond to things now, even though we may not be in a stressful season of life, we still respond to things like we did 5 years ago when we were really stressed. Because I've even caught myself doing some of that. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not even in a stressful season of life, but I'm, so it's just interesting. It's so interesting. It's so good to look and kind of check in with yourself a little bit to see where you're at. So good information. All right. Here is question from Galaxy. No, just kidding. That's the name of their phone, I think. I just started this morning, Jardiance, 25 milligrams. How soon should I start seeing results? Great question.
Great question. So right away. So Jardiance gives you an immediate benefit and then nothing afterwards. That's why you have to keep taking the pills. It's not something you build up a level from. So if it's going to work, it should work right away. The problem is it's not a good long-term solution for lowering blood sugar, for decreasing diabetes. It doesn't reverse diabetes, it makes it worse over time. So it's a good idea to stay on it and do the phase 1. And as your blood sugar starts dropping down into the normal range, then you ask your doctor to, okay, I think I'm back to normal. I'm ready to go off this medication.
All right. Connie is back. Welcome back. You're right. I haven't seen you in a while. I'm so glad that you're back on the webinars. Awesome. We did have a question here. Someone is wondering if we can let them know which webinar it was where you list all of the labs that are recommended to determine if you have type 2 and et cetera. And I'm not exactly sure. We've talked about it in a couple different webinars, but if you email me, I have the list of them. So Leslie, Leslie at bartonpublishing.com. I will send those your way. I basically just copied the email from Dr. Saunders and I'll send it to you. Okay, let me see here. For the last 10 years, I have been non-diabetic or pre-diabetic, but I have foot neuropathy. Lately, I'm having quite a bit of burning in the feet. Still, I'm non-diabetic. Is my neuropathy non-diabetic? Some doctors I consulted said no. My foot pain continues. How should I manage my neuropathy?
Okay, that is a great question. And we discussed this in neuropathy. We go into detail about this. But that's an important question. I think everybody, and it's worth repeating, everybody should understand this. It's worth repeating that, the complications of diabetes, such as neuropathy, kidney disease, heart disease, and even Alzheimer's disease, are not dependent on your blood sugar, that it's not because of the blood sugar. So you can technically be non-diabetic or pre-diabetic and still have a problem, because the problem actually comes from insulin. It's the insulin resistance that creates the problem, not the level of blood sugar. So if your insulin is gradually going up and you have a pretty high insulin because you have insulin resistance and it's keeping your blood sugar normal, you can have normal blood sugar and your doctor will tell you you are non-diabetic. But if you have insulin resistance, you can still get neuropathy. So what you're experiencing in your feet is neuropathy, and you can call it diabetic neuropathy, or you can call it non-diabetic neuropathy. Either way, it's neuropathy. And if you don't deal with it, it gets worse. And if it gets worse, then that's where the complications come up. And yes, you can even have, there are cases of people, I've seen them in the nursing home, with amputations of their feet, diabetic, but they're really non-diabetic or they're pre-diabetic, just from insulin resistance. So that's very important. So the question, what do? You still do the program. You still do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, get the kit, do the book, and then take Nervala. Nervala is an alpha lipoic acid benfotiamine combination that works in 2 ways. Number 1, it decreases inflammation. That's the alpha lipoic acid. That's why it's Nervala. ALA is the alpha lipoic acid. And then the benfotiamine helps improve the circulation, the microcirculation that causes the problem in the first place. So that's what I would do. I would do both, because if you don't do the lifestyle program, then you don't reduce your insulin resistance. If all you do is take the pill, Okay, the pill is useful for regaining your nerve function, but it's not going to fix your problem, what caused the nerve function and the dysfunction in the first place. So that's why you do both.
All right, good stuff. Is exercising from a chair due to disability almost as good as strenuous exercise?
You know what? There's some good research on that, and it's not bad. Yeah, exercising from a chair. Gosh, I was just reading the other day about what's it called? The soleus muscle is your calf muscles, and you can sit in a chair. And you know, people that bounce their leg all the time. I'm one of those that just does that. But they're called soleus push-ups, and all you do is go on your toes and let it down, and you're just sitting in a chair. You're not putting a whole lot of weight on it, and it changes your metabolism, and it improves your metabolism. It helps you to metabolize fat better, and it helps you metabolize sugar better. Just doing these soleus push-ups, and all you got to do is just sit in a chair, and you go up on your tippy toes and bring them back down, and go up on your
I'm
tippy
doing
toes.
it right now. It's actually not as easy as I thought.
No, it's
I
not.
mean, you can feel it.
But yeah, and so the researcher that was saying was like, you know, completely unexpected, because you're not using a lot of energy. You know, you're not putting a lot of force in it. You know, you're not. But
Good.
other things you can do from a chair are like isometric exercises, where you push against yourself, kind of thing, or pull against yourself, and you know, in various ways, and yeah, and they work.
Great.
That
And
was a good question.
yeah, it is a good question. Also useful for those of you maybe who are on long car rides and stuff like that. I've had some people actually chat with me about that when they're traveling for long hours, what they can be doing to keep their body moving. So very good question. Let's see. And actually, now that I think about it, a couple of years ago, I shared a video, a YouTube channel where they would do at-home hikes through various parts. I can't even remember, but through the country. You can find YouTube stuff where you can sit in your chair and they'll show video like you're actually hiking on a trail, and you could be in your chair just doing like you're walking, moving your legs and moving your arms. And it's very cool. Very cool. I was like, I wish I would have thought of that. What a great YouTube channel. Travel the world and do videos for people.
You know those the exercisers that where you're running on a treadmill, and they got the pictures of like you're running through a jungle, or you can run through the streets of whatever, or you can run through Paris. My son made those videos. He actually ran, you know, a course, and he was running, you know, miles with a camera, with a steady cam as he went through. He made a lot of those videos.
Yeah, they have them like iFit, I think, and then of course like Peloton and the mixed bikes, and all those have their own. But it's so cool. I really like it. It feels like I get to travel.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Someone is asking, what are your thoughts on Januvia?
Januvia is being used more and more now for a lot of different things. And what it does is it prevents your kidneys from reabsorbing sugar. So you normally excrete sugar into the urine, and then your body reabsorbs it. And this blocks that enzyme that reabsorbs it, so it can't get back into your body. So you pee it out, and of course you lose water with it, so you can get dehydrated. You also tend to lose potassium with it, because then your convoluted tubule, the tubule doesn't reabsorb potassium either, and so it's okay. It's kind of like a diuretic, and it does lower the blood sugar, and it's being used for as a diuretic for people with congestive heart failure, for example, and it does lower the blood sugar because you can't reabsorb the sugar as well. So what do I think about it? I don't like it because it tends to cause other problems. So I guess it's okay to start off. It's kind of like metformin. You can use metformin for a while, but the ideal is not to use those things so that you have normal kidney function, so that you have normal blood sugar, because you have the proper insulin sensitivity that you should have. And so I would still say, rather than taking the medication, to do the diabetes solution kit, right? To reverse your diabetes and have normal blood sugar so that you don't need it.
Awesome. Diane said, how often should you have your blood tested?
Well, by blood tested, I assume like hemoglobin A1C and those kinds of things. And you don't have to do that often. I do it like once every 6 months, and it depends on how hard somebody's working on it. And if you're working really hard and you're seeing your blood sugars, or you have a monitor, your monitor's saying, you're in the normal range now, and it's kind of plateaued or something, and you go, well, I know we just did it a couple of months ago, but I'm really excited to see what my hemoglobin A1C is now that my blood sugars are lower. And then, you can test again. So it depends, but yeah, once every 6 months to a year.
Okay, Sue is asking, she just started using the continuous glucose monitor. She's wondering, how accurate do you think those type of monitors are versus using a traditional blood glucose monitor?
Okay, so neither of them are very accurate. The continuous glucose monitors are not made for accuracy. So if you're going to get a blood draw, send it to a lab, the lab's going to be within 10%. They're going to be, so out of 100, you could be 90 or 110, and that would be that would be still acceptable within the lab's limits. But most labs are in like 1 or 2%. They're actually really close. The glucose monitors, 20% easily. The CGMs, the continuous monitors, I've seen them, people who take their blood sugar with the finger stick monitor and then look at their CGM, and they can be 30 points, 40 points difference. So you don't do that for accuracy. You do it for monitoring so that you can see a graph. That's the exciting part of it. You're muted.
There we go. The Garcias are here. I thought it was both of them, but no. Vilo said that Barbie is out today and he was in a meeting, so he just got here. That the Garcias have had great success with the diabetes solution kit. And so if you have any questions, you can always ask them. They can probably give you all their feedback too. We have a lot of people on here who have just amazing stories and just been so cool. So we're so thankful for you guys. I think that's it for us today. Dr. Saunders, you're awesome. This was a really, really good topic. I encourage you guys, go back. We'll have this posted within the week. And it'll be on our YouTube channel where you can rewatch it, and just good stuff. So if you have questions, feel free to email me, Leslie@bartonpublishing.com. We'll see you again next week, Dr. Saunders. Thank you so much.
See you there. Okay, all right. Bye.
We'll see ya.